Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1754, and today's date is December 31st, 2018, and the title of the episode is Fed Exposed on Crypto and Why It Will Be Taken Down. Now, before we get started, I wanted to talk about gold. Gold has been sought after, valuable, and highly regarded for thousands of years. Gold is still considered one of the safest investments on earth. Because of this stability, the IRS lets you use gold as part of your IRA or 401k rollover. Noble Gold are specialists in this type of product and have helped thousands of folks just like you to save for a happy and comfy retirement. If you would like to join them in that, call 877-646-5347 now and talk to the experts about how to get your gold IRA started, or go to noblegoldinvestments.com and start your investment in gold today. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the central banks, they are backed into a corner. They do not know what to do at this point. They're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control cryptocurrency. They don't want people to use it. They don't want people to look at it. They don't want people looking at gold or silver or anything like that. They only want people looking at their debt notes. And for a very long time, the central bank has been out there and they've been demonizing cryptocurrency. Some people like it, some people don't. And they've done this with gold also. They told us it was a barbarous relic. You don't really use it as money anymore. It's not really money. You only use it for jewelry. And the things that come up against their debt note, that's what they're really afraid of. And it looks like the Federal Reserve, well, they kind of let it slip of why they do not like cryptocurrency and why they are so afraid of it. Now think about this for a second. Cryptocurrency, it is completely decentralized. It is a truth machine. Now, of course, in the past, you heard central banks saying, oh, we can create our own cryptocurrency. We can take control. We can centralize it. And they kept pushing this out there. Well, guess what? They just informed everyone of why cryptocurrency would demolish their paper debt system. Just like gold. If every single country decided to use gold, it would destroy their entire paper debt system in a snap of a finger. Now, with cryptocurrency, what they said was the following: that if they decided to go and create their own Fed coin or any type of coin, there'd be a problem, because the cryptocurrencies, they are decentralized. And the central banks, they like centralization. So it would be necessary to centralize the cryptocurrency. But that wouldn't work for them. This is what they said. Once we remove the decentralized nature of cryptocurrency, not much is left of it. Virtual money that is centralized and issued by a central bank is electronic central bank money. It is worthwhile to mention that electronic central bank money could have been offered a long time ago. The technology for issuing virtual money in a centralized way exists long before the invention of the blockchain. Now, right there and then, they just told you why they can't use cryptocurrency and why they're so afraid of it. Because it's decentralized. They don't have control over it. So the Fed officials, they don't see a need or a desire to issue a national cryptocurrency because they can't centralize it. It wouldn't work in their system. And you can see right now that the attack on cryptocurrency, where you've been watching them attack it, they tell you that terrorists are using it, criminals are using it. There's a reason for that. Just like with gold and silver. Anything that comes up against their system, anything that challenges their system, they're going to try to force everyone away from it. And we can see moving forward, and this is coming from Q, gold is going to destroy the Fed. Now, this doesn't mean there's not going to be a cryptocurrency. It's very difficult to carry around gold and things like that, but gold is a confidence builder. Gold can be kept in the background while you use cryptocurrency as the currency of trade. It is possible, and guess what? If you do this, you don't need a central bank system. Actually, there's no reason for a central bank system. Let's go through some of the reasons why we really don't need a central bank. If we go back in time, the greatest period of economic growth in the history of the United States happened when there was no central bank. Did you know that the greatest period of economic growth in U.S. history was between the Civil War and 1913? And guess what? That was a period when there was no central bank in the United States. Coming from WikiLeaks, the Gilded Age saw the greatest period of economic growth in American history. After the short-lived panic of 1873, the economy recovered with advent of hard money policies and industrialization. From 1869 to 1879, the U.S. economy grew at a rate of 6.8% for real GDP and 4.5% for real GDP per capita, despite the panic of 1873. The economy repeated this period growth in the 1880s, in which the wealth of the nation grew at an annual rate of 3.8%, while the GDP was also doubled. So if our greatest period of economic prosperity was during a time when there was no Federal Reserve, then why do we have the Federal Reserve? I mean, if we look at the U.S. dollar, the Federal Reserve is systematically destroying the value of the Federal Reserve note. It continually loses value. I mean, since the 70s, it's down what? 83%? And since the beginning of time, since I say the beginning of time of the Federal Reserve note back in 1913, it is down like what, 97%? The Federal Reserve is a perpetual debt machine. When the U.S. government decides that it wants to spend another $1 billion that it doesn't have, it does not print up billions of dollars. Rather, the U.S. government creates a bunch of U.S. Treasury bonds, debt, and takes them over to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve creates billions of dollars out of thin air and exchanges them for the U.S. Treasury bonds. So Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, they couldn't understand this, why we adopted such a foolish system. For example, Thomas Edison once was quoted in the New York Times as saying the following: "That is to say, under the old way, any time we wish to add the national wealth, we are compelled to add to the national debt. Now, that is what Henry Ford wants to prevent. He thinks it is stupid, and so do I, that for the loan of $30 million of their own money, the people of the United States should be compelled to pay $66 million. That is what it amounts to, with interest. People who will not turn a shovel of dirt nor contribute a pound of material will collect more money from the United States than will the people who supply the material and do the work. That is the terrible thing about interest. In all our great bond issues, the interest is always greater than the principal. All of the great public works cost more than twice the actual cost on that account. Under the present system of doing business, we simply add 120 to 150% to the stated cost. But here is the point. If our nation can issue a dollar bond, it can issue a dollar bill. The element that makes the bond good makes the bill good. The Federal Reserve also creates incredible bubbles. Do you remember the dot-com bubble? Do you remember the housing bubble? All the bubbles going all the way back to 1913. There were 10 different economic recessions since 1950. And the Federal Reserve even admits that it helped create the Great Depression of 1930. The Federal Reserve is also a privately owned corporation. It gives secret bailouts to friends. $16 trillion in secret loans to their friends during the last financial crisis. And this is coming from page 131 of the Government Accountability Audit Report. Citigroup, $2.5 trillion. Morgan Stanley, $2 trillion. Merrill Lynch, $1.9 trillion. Bank of America, $1.3 trillion. And the list goes on and on. The Federal Reserve has an astounding track record of failure. Over the past 10 years, the Federal Reserve has been abysmal failure when it comes to running the economy. So why would we keep the Federal Reserve? It makes no sense. I mean, go back in time to 2005. Bernanke said that he believed that derivatives were perfectly safe and posed no danger to the financial markets. 2006, Bernanke said that the housing prices would probably keep rising. We've never seen prices fall on housing like this. 2007, Bernanke insisted that there was not a problem with the subprime mortgages. 2008, Bernanke said that a recession was not coming. A few months before Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac collapsed, Bernanke insisted that they were totally secure. Why would we keep a Federal Reserve System with a track record of complete failures? Now, since the financial crisis, we have the Federal Reserve manipulating the entire economy, controlling interest rates, controlling the stock market, controlling everything. Actually, they've been controlling it for quite a while. Why do we continually keep the Fed? If they fail, if we lose value in the dollar, they give out secret bailouts, we can't audit them. What's the reason? If they're not benefiting the people. The Federal Reserve is unaccountable to the American people. Thomas Jefferson once stated that if he could add just one more amendment to the U.S. Constitution, it would be a ban on all government borrowing. This is what he said. I wish it were possible to obtain a single amendment to our Constitution. I'd be willing to depend on that alone for the reduction of the administration of our government to the genuine principles of its Constitution. I mean, an additional article taking from the federal government the power of borrowing. If we removed borrowing and allowing these corrupt government officials to continually borrow as much as they possibly can and funnel that money into all different places that we don't even know where it goes, we would remove a lot of the corruption in government. We would remove a lot of the problems that we have today. Government would not have to be so big. What's the reason of having a gigantic government? Because if we were like any other business and we had checks and balances and we had account for everything, government would not be the way it is today. Actually, the people in government wouldn't even want the Federal Reserve. This is why Trump, this is why the Patriots, this is why they're all together telling us that there's going to be a change in structure. What that change is going to be? Most likely nationalization of the Federal Reserve System, and then eventually getting rid of it completely. There's no reason for it. The only reason it stays around is because those individuals became corrupt with it. Part of the deep state problem. Think about it. Why in Congress, if they're really working for the American people, why wouldn't they want to know what the Federal Reserve is doing? Why wouldn't they want an audit? What are they so afraid of? What is the Federal Reserve so afraid of? Well, we kind of know. This is why Trump has Andrew Jackson hanging in his office. This is why Q is out there saying that gold is going to bring down the Federal Reserve. This is why Q is out there giving a list of all the Rothschild banking systems around the world, telling us that they are above the law, that they do things out of the best interest for themselves and not for the people. This is why Q is telling us that change is coming to this entire economic system. And when this change comes, you're going to need to be ready and prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.